Welcome to another episode of Living Well with Rent Well. I'm TJ Hock, one of the co-hosts for the show, and with us today is John Higgins. How are you, John?
I'm great. I'm thrilled to be here today.
Excellent. Me too. John, we just partnered, Rentwell just started to partner with your company, Steady, on offering an owner benefit package, which has a lot of great things included with it. Why don't we just jump into it? And can you give us a little bit about Steady, your mission, how long you've been around for, all that good stuff, and then we'll get into what is the owner benefit package.
Sure. So Steady, which I'm the co-founder of, actually turns 5 today. So my business partner and
Awesome.
I came together and founded Steady on March 15th, 2018. And we came together on the view that there's an unmet need for small property owners in America, the rental property investors, where they are inadequately served with insurance and financial products. And the first pain point we had identified was loss of rental income due to tenant non-payment. So my business partner, he had grown up in Paris, where these types of rent guarantee programs are widely adopted, 60, 70% plus adoption. If you look to Australia, these types of insurance products have 70, 80% adoption. But in the US, it,
Do
it
they
never
really?
really, yeah, it just never really took off. And when you think about it, actually, take a step back, we all know the way regulation's going in America. Tenants are getting greater and greater protections. And if you look at what happens in Australia, tenants, you talked about PM there, they're like a protected class. Similarly, in France, where my business partner grew up, similar thing. And so he actually suffered the loss we insure against. And we came together and we built this insurance program initially to protect small landlords against non-payment of rent. And
Hmm.
in doing so, we thought, how can we get who serves the small landlord and also presents the best risk for us? And we quickly identified third-party fee-based property managers. Right? Your market, TJ. You've got a
Right.
process. Well, and I know this because we vetted it, but a process for selecting tenants, placing tenants, evicting poorly performing tenants, and retenanting, all of which mitigates our risk. And so, really, our mission really came down to how can we empower property managers with institutional grade solutions that provide them with differentiated value for themselves and their customers in a way that makes sense. And so we create more or less, we access institutional markets, insurance, and financial markets to deliver products through the property manager that can benefit everyone in the relationship, the property manager and their underlying owner.
And that's a beautiful thing. Australia is so far ahead of the U.S. and as far as the property management activities and what they're doing and not. So I know the firms in the U.S. are learning a lot from Australia. I had no idea about the data in France. I think that's pretty fascinating that you have a partner who's there and can use what they've
Well, he,
learned.
he grew up there. He's in the
Grew up
States now. Yeah.
there. Okay.
But yeah, but he tells stories about friends that have rental units. 3 years, someone hasn't paid their rent.
Oh my gosh.
And so like it's you have to have these types of insurances and these protections to transfer the risk.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into it then. We've just partnered with you. I am so excited, truly, to be launching this for our current clients. We did a survey. We do an owner survey every year, and one of the questions is if we were to offer any additional services, what might that look like? And we gave a list of options. One of them being like a rent protection, eviction protection grouping, and
Mm-hmm.
that won by and large. It blew all the other options out of the water. And so we started doing some market research of who's out there, what do they offer, and we came across Steady. Certainly, we had a lot of conversations before we decided to do business together. And we've already sent our first announcement out to the clients, and it's seems to be an overwhelming success. And man, what a perfect market timing to be launching this, and even to have started the business. Um,
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think what I'd love to do is share with our listeners from Steady, like what is the owner benefit package? Could you go in a little bit to talk about what does it cover? How does it work? This is
sure.
just like truly, it's a fantastic product. I'd love to share more about it.
Sure. So again, when we launched, we identified these third party property managers as a great source of risk for us, and we listened to the feedback from the property managers and what did they want in the package of services. And we initially had started with an insurance program, and today we offer this full suite of a managed owner benefit package. And the property managers obviously know their markets and know their customers and know the pain points. And so we took all this feedback and included our own proprietary products as well as other products that the market had asked for and put it together into this easy to consume offering exclusively available through third party property managers that are partnered with Steady. And so in it are, step one, rent protection. So we cover in the owner benefit package, there's coverage for up to 2 months of lost rent for tenant non payment. So owners don't have to worry. Hey, what happens? I'm renting my unit. What happens if my tenant doesn't pay their rent? Or I'm fearful about the economic environment. Next, property managers started saying, okay, the rent's covered, but what about eviction? We're concerned about eviction expense. That's something that we have to come out of pocket for. How can we mitigate that? So based on the market feedback, we added the eviction protection component, the eviction expense and re-tenanting shield component of the owner benefit package. Also, property managers in the past had said, hey, a lot of people don't trust insurance. They're going to deny the claim. We don't trust the insurance company. So we
Right.
said, okay, let's remove that concern. How can we do that? We can deliver up to a year's worth of rental income at a slight discount to the property owner through their property manager upfront when that tenant's placed or when they enroll in the program. And so that had never been done before globally. We actually last year, April of last year, closed on an initial $500 million to offer that program on a national scale. And again, the way it works is because of scale diversification and law of big numbers, but it's also because we only work with these third-party vetted property managers. And so we understand who we're working with, and we don't just partner with any property manager. They have to go through the process. We try to make it easy. It's very data driven, but we need to understand who we're in business with because we could be flowing millions or tens of millions of dollars through their business. Next, we include real time legislative updates. So, as we all know, the rules are always changing. COVID taught us a lot about what the government may or may not do, might change the rules on evictions, etc. And so we want people to stay informed. So we went out and found a way to aggregate all the legislative activities on a state and national basis to keep the customers of our property management partners informed. Because the biggest thing is people not knowing what's going on, and that's what they rely on you for, TJ. They want a pulse of the market. They rely on a professional to tell them what's going on and what to be concerned about. And then finally, we included comparable rental reports, keep them informed at where their unit will rent when it comes up for renewal, and what the market activity is. And the way we came up with the legislative updates and that rental report component is by surveying hundreds of property managers and saying what are you looking for, and that's why we included it. And that's what we'll continue to do is listen to the market and the feedback, similar to how you surveyed your owners to say what would you like in an owner benefit package. That's what we'll do, and we'll survey the property manager as to what's the pain point and how can we help you solve it.
So they're getting a lot, right? It's rent advance, it's up to 2 months rent protection, it's the legal shield, so up to $1,000 reimbursement or coverage for any attorney's fees or court fees, maybe the property manager's representation for showing up to court. You have your rent comp and the legislative updates. I think the legislative updates is a wonderful feature because it's almost a set it and forget it program. That updates will go out live time. And to your point, as often as things are changing right now, um, I I think it's an incredible value from a property manager's perspective to be able to provide these to an owner. And what I'd love to talk more about is the rent advance program, because I'm sure a lot of the feedback is, well, wait, this sounds a little too good to be true. How are
Yeah,
you going to pay me up to a year? So can you unpack that a little bit? Like, what's Um, yeah, can you just talk about that a little bit more? How that rent advance program works?
Absolutely. So again, with property managers that we're partnered with and we have vetted and approved, we offer their underlying customers who are enrolled in the owner benefit package the ability to pull forward up to 12 months of rent. That's probably going to change this year to maybe up to 18 or 24 months. Um, and, you know, depending on the lease length, right? But the way that works is, you know, again, we vetted the property manager, we know their business, we know their operations, and it allows us to isolate on the risk that we're comfortable with, which is the tenant repayment risk. We understand it. We've been running products, financial and insurance products on tenant repayment risk for 4 years. We ran it throughout COVID, and have always done a good job of managing that risk and exposure. And so the way it works is, say I'm a owner and I sign up with you and your team at Rentwell, and I've enrolled in the owner benefit package. And I'm enrolled, the first month I'm enrolled, provided that my tenant's been placed by you using your methods, I'm going to get an offer, an email offer to receive somewhere between, call it 90 and 95 cents on the dollar of what my after property management fee income for the year would be. So if my income for the year would be $10,000 after my management fees, I'm going to get an offer between, call it 9,000 to 9,500, probably realistically somewhere around 9,300 depending on the asset. But and that money will come to me. So if I move forward, it comes from your email, TJ, or a Rentwell email. And if I move forward with that, we already have the information from Rentwell on what we would need. So it's a pretty easy process. And what happens is you sign the agreement and we will send that owner the money. It's a non-recourse transaction, meaning that if that tenant doesn't pay rent, say, you know, for that 12-month period, that risk is on us. We don't go back, say, hey, your tenant didn't pay for 3 months. You now need to pay us back 3 months. No, we've agreed to a defined term and a defined amount, and we take that risk on. And the reason, again, we're able to is because we're bridging that gap between Wall Street and Main Street, and we're accessing this institutional risk-seeking capital that's comfortable with the risk. And because we do it with Rentwell and you know property managers all around the country, it works. And so for the owner, the big things are, what can't you do if you got this money? What's the catch? You're going to take that slight discount on your money to pull it forward and remove all tenant repayment risk. You can't fire the property manager who's our partner and is collecting the rent and managing the asset without our consent. You can't sell the house without our consent during that time period because we're collecting the rent on that. And you have to make repairs that come up during the course of the tenancy because we want that tenant happy and paying rent. And so, you know, you agree as you would normally to keep the unit habitable and that the property manager can help make that determination for you regarding the necessity of a repair. And we've been doing this. We launched the program on a beta version of the rent advance just about 2 years ago, actually, with some property managers we were close with, and you know, iterated and learned and feedback. But we've had no issues on the repair side. We've had no issues with property owners. I think a lot of it comes down to really having that third party trusted property manager as our partner because they're really our eyes and ears. And it's really our products only work with our third party property manager partners.
Got you. Man, it's such a brilliant concept. Um, and wow, 20 up to 24 months. I know that's not live yet, but holy smokes. So that's the rent advance. Can you share a little bit about the rent protection and the legal end of the retenant shield? I think that's what you called it, right? The retenant
Yeah, the
team
legal and
shield.
legal and retenanting expense shield. So on the rent protection side, you know, as we started our business, we actually have a subsidiary that acts as a program manager with a Fortune 100 insurance carrier, and so we have underwriting authority from a major insurance carrier for insurance surrounding this risk, this specific risk that we've you know come with our core offering. And with it, you know, we have set up the structure where now the owner can be protected. And so the owner can be protected if that tenant doesn't pay rent for a variety of reasons. And so, you know, a tenant, as you know, could just skip, could just say, I'm out of here and give the keys back. Or the tenant could be less friendly, or maybe more adversarial, and not pay rent and have to be evicted. Or could even worse, not pay rent, have to be evicted, and trash the unit. And so, what all of this does is it negatively impacts the performance of the property owner. They're expecting that cash flow. And we want to provide tools to the property managers we work with and the underlying owners to mitigate that risk. And so, if the tenant were to just not pay rent and give their keys back, there could be a loss of rental income until it's retenanted, or there could be a delay in being able to get it retenanted after an eviction. And after surveying the market, we found that 2 months seemed to be the right amount. And so we will cover up to 2 months of lost rent in the event of tenant default. And it could also be military orders. As you know, someone receives military orders by law, they can break the lease. So we, of course, are not going to say we don't cover that. We cover that. The program would cover that. And it's really centered on if the unit can be occupied and the tenant won't pay rent, we'll cover that loss. We try to make it simple.
So for everybody listening in, what you're basically saying through the the rent protection program is you will the property manager will put in a claim, and up to 2 months worth of rent can be distributed nearly for any reason of non-payment of rent. Either they abandoned the property, called for military duty, unfortunately maybe they pass away, or maybe they're just not paying rent for whatever reason. That owner can get up to 2 months rent reimbursement for non-payment of rent, like as simple as that.
Yep, and this is how it sounds simple, hard to accomplish, right? On the back end, but that's the exposure, and that's the risk. Is we want to isolate on this pain point. If you think about it, TJ, if I'm a large landlord with 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 units, and a tenant doesn't pay rent, it doesn't really matter. But if I'm a smaller landlord that's relying on that income to pay my mortgage, or I got called away for military duty and I'm going to live in the home again down the line, or I have to move and I can't sell my home, so I'm an accidental landlord, or I've inherited a home, I'm relying on that income to cover my expense. And if there's a tenant default and the non-payment, I go from this positive cash flowing asset that's maybe making me some money on top, hopefully, but covering my expenses, to all of a sudden it's a monthly liability. And what we really seek to do is provide the small mom and pop landlord, or even the small to mid-sized landlord, even in some instances, with tools to smooth their cash flow. And that's what it does. And the legal and retenanting expense shield is really just an offshoot of that. When we first launched the owner benefit package, property managers said, this is great, we love it. But then we started to hear, hey, we really want to give true peace of mind to our customers. And there's this issue is, do they have to come out of pocket for the eviction expense? So I said, okay, let's come up with a solution to help smooth that potential liability and give them real certainty. They want certainty in rental outcomes in today's environment. That's more important than ever, given where we are economically and some of the events with big banks failing, et cetera. And so what we want to do is just deliver certainty to these owners and do it in partnership with the property manager, because the property management is not just about collecting rent. People view that as, oh, they're charging a fee to collect rent, I can do that. It's so much more. It's the experience of knowing the local laws, knowing how to enforce lease obligations, knowing what to do when things go sideways. It's coordinating the maintenance. It's taking that phone call at 3 a.m. because the furnace doesn't work. It's all of these thankless things that people don't think about, and they think it's easy, but it's not easy at all. And so we understand that, and we want to align ourselves with the people that are doing this work, because that helps us create very cost-effective products for the market.
John, you spoke my love language. You should do sales for property management. Going through talking about the services, it's not just rent collection.
But yeah, it's true.
I mean,
it's a thankless, TJ, it's a thankless job, right? You always have someone annoyed with you. The tenant's annoyed about something,
yes.
The owner's annoyed about something. but the property manager sits in the middle with a smile on their face and tries to make everyone happy. And I think it's very
That's right.
much underappreciated. And the other thing I love about Steady and what we're doing is our customers are other entrepreneurs. And so it's great. And all these intentional real estate investors or even accidental landlords, they're actually entrepreneurs as well. They're in the business of investing in property. And I'm a huge proponent and believer in the exceptionalism of America and the environment it creates for entrepreneurs. And I love the fact that we can help that real estate investor pull forward a year of cash flow and buy another unit, or pull forward some cash flow to improve their unit to get higher rent at the next turn. These are things we love doing. And so for us, it's not work. It's been, I mean, everything's work sometimes, but it's been a lot of fun.
It's a great mission, and we truly are so pumped to be partnered with you guys. We go live April 1st with the program. Um, I just think the value add to clients, the peace of mind that you provide, is just like it's so in demand right now. And I would be curious if you have any thoughts on what do you see any major trends or shifts coming in the future of property management, or maybe single family rental investing. You guys are very much data driven, so I'm curious to see what thoughts you might have.
Well, we're very data driven. We also do the nature of our products very in tune with the regulatory, what's going on the regulatory front. And there's there's a lot of scrutiny of property management today and management fees charged to tenants. People are concerned about that. So I think regulation's certain. There's always going to be more regulation, which makes it difficult for someone who's not a professional that doesn't understand what the rules of the road are that seem to be changing, a shifting sand every day. They really need that property manager. I think from the institutional side, we've seen a lot of interest. I think I'd heard 50 or $75 billion worth of capital is trying to access the single family rental market. So you're going to see
Oh,
probably more activity there. But that said, that's the headline. The institutional penetration of single family rentals is like 3% total. So this isn't going to be something that people keep saying. We read the headlines. There's going to be huge institutional changes, and it's going to all be bought up by Wall Street. And I just don't think that's a fact because what it comes back down to property management. It is hard to manage these properties. It is a local, boots on the ground, blocking and tackling, know your market, know your process, know your customers, know your assets. And that's not something you can do sitting behind a computer at a spreadsheet. So I think what's going to happen is continued innovation in technology, continued solutions, point solutions, and otherwise that are integrated into core software systems and property management softwares to solve unique pain points. Um, but I think that real estate's local. I think property management is going to continue to thrive. And I think for real estate investors, the fact remains that U.S. residential real estate is one of the, I think the largest asset class in the world, and it always goes up over time. So you just have to have a longer time horizon at some points than others. So I think it's a
yes,
good market if you can buy right to get to work, buy more assets. Obviously, you want interest rates to come down a bit, um,
please.
but right, but I think it's still a great time to be looking at real estate as an investment and thinking how you can do your buy, renovate, rent strategies and grow your portfolio. And like anything else, what we do at Steady is we partner with best in class boots on the ground operators, and that's what I suggest real estate investors do. If it's not if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? Find someone you know and trust that provides good value and service, and then continue to grow with them and grow your portfolio. And they can probably show you off market deals or other ways to buy assets. Be your real partner in it.
Yeah. Well, John, we certainly appreciate you being on today with us. We're thankful for you and your partner and everybody at the Steady team. And if anybody listening to the conversation today, if they wanted to reach out to Steady, maybe they have a property management company, maybe they work with a property management company, how would they get in touch with somebody?
Sure, they could go to our website, www.steadyrent.com, or they could email info@steadyrent.com. Someone will be very prompt in getting back to anyone with inquiries. We're here to help our property management partners and their customers.
Wonderful. John, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're really excited to participate and also to get our partnership kicked off. Couldn't be happier.
Excellent.
Thank you for listening to Living Well with Rentwell. We hope you loved that episode.
Please be sure to head over to our website at rentwell.com/vision. We're giving away our free program called Vision Through Purposeful Action. If you're a busy person, if you struggle with finding the time and priorities, or if you're experiencing procrastination and overwhelm, this free course will help you with that.
We wish you a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in, and check in later.